Hey, well, I hope everyone had a Yom Tov. This is now the end of the Shabbat, um, and the day is, oh, I lost my glasses. I knew I would lose something. 8:30, it's 7:37 on December 9th, 2017. I don't know what I did with my glasses, but I know I'm going to need them. Sir. Ah, here they are. Here they are. Um, so I'd like to wish everyone a Shavua Tov, a good week. I haven't done a video in a while. I guess I start all of my videos like this because I don't do weekly videos. I'm not a creature of habit, and I'm going to try to do better at this. Not to monetize the videos, but just to put the information out there. Now it's getting close to Hanukkah. We can see all of the Christians and non-Christians out spending unnecessary money and decking the halls and fa la 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 and all that. And I've actually on my Facebook page gotten several Christmas trees and elves and Santas and things like that. And I keep telling people, you know, I'm not going to be mad at you if you stop sending me that because I don't want it. And but the good thing is my invitations to Christmas festivities are have slowed down to a crawl. I know I'll probably get a lot of last minute invitations from people who, you know, might want to have somebody to reminisce with over the chestnuts and things like that. But I'm just going to have to say, you know, don't include me in your plans. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself, how I came into this walk. I was raised in North Carolina, and I was in a fire baptized holiness church of God of the Americas, Pentecostal church. And you know, don't wear makeup, don't cut your hair, don't wear pants. There was a blue million rules for the women, and I don't think the men had a rule. Isn't that the way it goes, though? So I left for college. I went to trade school. I left for trade school, and at that time, it was my end of my regular association with my church that I grew up in. And I bounced around from church to church. I think when I lived in Houston, I was, what was it? Missionary Baptist or something. Then I came back to Tennessee, and I was with the AME Zion. And then from that, I moved to another city, and I kept going. I went back to the Holiness Church, which was in Knoxville, and then after that, because those people were so mean and so hateful and so vindictive, I said, I gotta get out of here. But that's a whole nother story. And but there were some good people in that church too. I'm not gonna say the whole church was that way. It just, you know, it's a matter of one bad apple trying to spoil the whole bunch, which it did not, because I love a lot of those people, you know, still that was in that church. I stopped going after my mom moved back to Carolina, I think, and then I just didn't go to church at all. And then I started going to a Southern Baptist, predominantly white church, and I was there for maybe 10 or more years. I played in the orchestra. I taught Sunday school. I was the director of the children, 3-year-olds, and then I was the choir director for the 1st to 3rd grade, like that. And the whole time, ever since I was a child, the Most High was dealing with me. I mean, ever since I was little, because I had a problem with Christmas. I had a problem with the tree, with all of the Santa Claus and Rudolph and and I had a problem with Easter, and I had a problem with the bunny and the eggs and all of these, things that came up, and I was constantly asking my mother, what does it mean? What does it mean? How is that going to connect me with Jesus? That's the term we used before we learned about Yeshua, Yahushua, Yahshua. And so, my mother was such a patient woman. God bless her. Because if she had not been, I would have been one of those kids that ended up on on the side of a milk carton. Have you seen this child? Because I really worried her about the commandments and the rules of the church, and why come the rules of the church don't line up with the commandments of Yah. And I was talking about the Levitical. Why weren't we keeping the days, the Jewish calendar, if we're God's people and they're God's people? Why? That was part of my upbringing. And so I had a series of dreams. This is how the Most High dealt with me, through dreams. And I had a series of dreams, and I talked with my Southern Baptist pastor, and I explained to him one dream in which was he in that dream? He was not in the dream, but there was a room in the church that I kept dreaming about. And there was something, like there was an old part of the building, huge building, brand new part of the building. And then when you went to the old part of the building, it felt like there was a spirit or something there that you couldn't see. And then whenever you would pick up something or move something, that spirit would put it right back the way it was and all that. So one day I was passing this room in the building, because it was a really huge building like that. The membership at that church had blossomed up to about 3,000 people at one time, but there was a church split. But anyway, I was curious about that door, because every time I pass that door, I get a feeling. So I said, I'm going to look in that room. So I opened up the door and I looked, and lo and behold, it was the room that I had been dreaming about for like a year, and the same little tiny staircase, everything was in that room. So I said, I better mention this to the pastor. Maybe he knows what this means. And when I told him my dream, I made an appointment with him, and I told him my dream, and I didn't know what it meant, but he knew exactly what it meant. He said, I know what that means. It means, he says, I'm a new pastor here, and every time I try to make improvements and do things, the old guard moves it back the way it was. He said, I receive that. I really do. So then I told him about a dream that I had, which I'm not going to mention the dream here. And he said, your dream means that the Lord has something for you to do. But in this denomination, the Southern Baptist, you will not be able to pursue whatever it is that the Lord is pushing you towards. He said, you're going to have to leave the church and find what God wants. And he says, you should find what God wants. What is he saying to you? He said, that's the most important thing for you. So that started my journey. And I went to one little Baptist church And they didn't have a piano player, and I wasn't a very good piano player, and I started trying to play for them, and that same mean, terrible, vindictive spirit came up, and it showed up during the service, and I just stopped going. And then my husband and I, we didn't, he didn't really go to church. He said he belonged to a church, but he didn't really start going to a church until we got married. We got married in 1995. We've been married almost 25 years now. But anyway, I was up about 4 a.m. and I was just goofing off because I had insomnia. And for some reason, I went to the computer and I typed Messianic on there. And all this information about Messianic, and I didn't really know what it was I was typing, but it was the Most High leading me. He was gently leading me. And there was a testimony of a man, I think he was a rabbi or something, or a congregational leader, and he gave his testimony about how he was raised in the Jewish tradition and all the schools and all this stuff, and he kept having questions, and Mom, why does this happen? Mom, why does that happen? Mom, why does that happen? And his mother was just like my mom. She didn't have any answers for the questions that he was asking, and she gave him pretty much the same answers that I had gotten when I was asking my Pentecostal mom, why is this and why is that and why don't we this and why don't we that? So he said, I think you should be here. He said, we're on the same walk, and he said, this is a good time because this is during the Feast of Trumpets. Was it Feast of? Yes, Feast of Trumpets. He said, this is a very good time for you to come in, you and your husband. So we went, and he taught us all about Messianic Judaism. And I said, my God, why didn't I learn all this? He taught us about so much stuff, that we did not know, but it fit what we were learning, pretty much like what we had learned. And, lots of times in the church, when your teachers or your pastor doesn't understand anything, they'll start making up stuff. I believe, good sounding stuff like I believe, instead of giving you the scriptures. And so there was no glossing over. When he would speak, the stuff that he said just fit into our questions like this. But and we thought that we were home, but the Most High was not ready for us. He was leading us, and still continues to lead us. But some things happened there, and I began to work in that congregation. I was teaching the children and things like that, and there was just that same spirit that seemed to manifest. Like there's like a spirit of division sometimes that manifests itself in groups that are supposed to be cohesive. It's like a divide and conquer type spirit. Like if I can get these guys arguing with each other and mistrusting each other and stuff like that, then I can bring this group down and then move on to the next one. I hope you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we ended up having no other choice but to leave that Messianic Jewish congregation. And so since then we've been studying on our own here at home. And so that brought us into the Hebrew Israelite awakening, because a couple of years ago, when I was studying with the Jewish Messianic Jewish congregational leader, we were believing that they were the chosen people, that we were all in, money, time, everything, And so I was studying here at the house, and even back then I came across Deuteronomy 28 and Deuteronomy 26, and it really struck a chord with me, and I thought, well, that's probably just me being dramatic. I'm not even going to visit that. If it's true, it'll come back. And so, in we've been Messianic since 2006. And we've been awakened us to the true people of God, the chosen people, of which I am a member since 2014. Is when we really accepted that information. And when it hit me, I remember laying down here in the middle of this floor, and I screamed. I screamed to the top of my lungs, and it's just like something left me and something came into me at the same time. And what came into me was the awakening, the truth that we are the true children of Israel, that we have been replaced, that we had been replaced, true to the scriptures. But it wasn't a true replacement. It was only just for a time, for the time of the Gentiles. And then the time of the Gentiles is almost over. And those people who lie and say that they are Jews but are not, they're going to have to ante up, and obey the Most High. But anyway, I laid on the floor and I screamed and I cried. Tears were rolling, and I laid there, I know, most of the afternoon. I wasn't no more good for the rest of the day, I'll have to tell you. The rest of the week, and I just kept absorbing videos and scriptures, and it's just like things were just clicking like that. And that's how the Ruach HaKodesh brought me around to the truth. So I really didn't want this video to be a very long video. I have been trying to wake up my family, which a few of them are kind of looking, and some of them asked questions, but then, just kicking tires or whatnot. They're not trying to just really do anything. I had one young cousin who had awakened, and she was going to homeschool her children. She and her husband, and the Lord took her a couple of months ago. She was 34 years old. God bless her, and she had a little baby, and then the Lord took her. And her husband is there now. He's trying to he's still awakened. He's still working. He's still teaching the children all the time, trying to get over the loss of his wife there in the hospital. So please pray for him. But and I don't know. I just keep telling people, but it seems like nobody in Tennessee, they'll say, yeah, I know, but they're not really trying to act on it and come back to Israel and rebuild the nation. They're still too busy running after somebody else's traditions and inheriting lies. So, a voice crying out in the wilderness. I just wanted to explain how I left the church, why I'll never go back. And excuse me, I'm so sorry, I'm drinking this drink. I shouldn't be doing it right now, but I'm sorry. And I hope that this will encourage someone to make the transition from Christian or Buddhist or Mormon or whatever you are back to the nation. If you are a descendant of a slave from the Middle Passage slavery, transatlantic slavery, you are a bloodline descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's time to rise and shine because your light is coming. And I wish you much peace, shalom, and thank you for watching. Have a good week.